Hi guys, welcome to our YouTube channel Crack It. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube,
Subscribe now and press the bell icon. Never miss a
today in this video we are going to see Cognizant interview experience of a student. So now let's see the questions asked in an interview. So first question is tell me about yourself. As you all know that it is the first step in the interview. Everyone asks. So I will tell you how to answer these questions. So you need to tell like where do you come from and what have you studied, and you should not narrate your tell me about yourself like a story, and you should talk about your achievements and strengths. If possible, you can also talk about the short-term goals and long-term goals and your hobbies. Your hobbies should be like that hobbies should benefit the company, not like just reading books and spending time with friends. Something that should be benefited to the company so that the recruiter concentrates on you. So now let's move on to the next question about project. You all know that this is also one of the most common interview question that every interviewer asks. You should explain your project like the way you solved a problem in the project. So how you solved a problem in the project, and you should explain in a neat way. And for every person there is a role in the project, and you should explain your role in the project. And in the meanwhile, you also face some of the challenges in the project, so you need to also explain that challenge in the project, and so that the interviewer may know how you overcome the challenges and how you completed the project in a neat manner. Now let's see the next question. Internship. As you all know that internships are first professional experiences in the field, and each will become a stepping stone to the next work assignment. So your first you give your title and the role in the organization and describe your main responsibilities. And you should talk about your technical and professionalism skills that you learn or developed in the internship. And you can also highlight one main accomplishment you had during the internship. And you should also focus on your main learning from the experience and how this might impact you professionally and as you make your future career decisions. So in this way you can explain about your internship. Now let's see the other question which asked about OOPS concept. So OOPS or object oriented programming is a programming model or which revolves around the concept of objects, and objects can be considered as real world instances of entities like class that contain some characteristics and behavior specified in the class template. So what is an object basically? An object is a real world entity which is the basic unit of OOPS. For example, we can say that chair, cat, dog, etc. Different objects have different states or attributes and behaviors. And what is a class? A class is a prototype that consists of objects in different states and with different behaviors. It has a number of methods that are common the objects present within that class. So you can explain like this OOPS concepts, and basically OOPS concept there are four types like data abstraction, polymorphism, inheritance, and abstraction. Now let's see the next question. Polymorphism types. So basically what is polymorphism? The word polymorphism means having many forms. In simple words, we can define polymorphism as the ability of a message to be displayed in more than one form. So you can see that polymorphism is of two types. One is compile time polymorphism and the other one is runtime polymorphism. So with method overloading, static polymorphism is achieved in object-oriented programming languages that allow the programmer to implement various methods. The name they use can be the same, but their parameters are different. So coming to runtime polymorphism, this type of polymorphism is achieved by function overriding. Function overriding, on the other hand, occurs when a derived class has a definition for one of the member functions of the base class. That base function is said to be overridden. Now let's move to the next question. Method overriding. So if subclass, that is child class, has the same method as declared in the parent class, it is known as method overriding. So in other words, if a subclass provides the specific implementation of the method that has been declared by one of its parent class. It is also known as method overriding. Now let's move on to the next question. The interviewer asked about HTML, in that it is about span tag and the div tag. HTML span tag, it is a generic inline container for inline elements and content. It is used to group elements for styling purposes. So basically, this span tag is used for styling purposes. How you will style? By using the class or ID attributes. And the span tag is very similar to the div tag, that is division tag. But div is a block level tag and span is an inline tag. Now coming to the HTML div tag. So div tag is known as division tag. The div tag is used in HTML to make divisions of content on the web page, like text, images, header, footer, navigation bar, etc. You can see that div has two blocks like this, with open brackets, and the other one is closed with a slash line. Now let's see the next question. So uh, interviewer asked about some of the basic CSS properties. So these are the some basic CSS properties. Some of them are text properties, list properties, border properties, font properties. So you can go through these CSS properties in any website. You can check there. So next question is indexing DBMS. So basically this indexing is used to optimize the performance of a database by minimizing the number of disk accesses required when a query is processed. And this is how index in DBMS looks like. First one is search key and the other one is data reference. The first column of the database is a search key that contains a copy of the primary key or candidate key of the table. So the values of the primary key are stored in sorted order so that the corresponding data can be accessed easily. So you can see that the second column of the database is the data reference. It contains a set of pointers holding the address of the disk block where the value of the particular key can be found. Now let's see the next question. Unique key. Unique key is a set of one or more than one fields or columns of a table that uniquely identify a record in a database table. You can say that it is like primary key, but it can accept only one null value and it cannot have duplicate values. The unique key and primary key both provide a guarantee for uniqueness for a column or a set of columns. There is an autonomically defined unique key constant within a primary key constant. And next question asks this: what is primary key? So primary key is a special relational database table column or a combination of columns designated to uniquely identify each table. So basically this primary key is used to identify unique records. A primary key is used a unique identifier to quickly pass data within the table. So a table cannot have more than one primary key. So a table should not contain more than one primary key. A primary key main features are: it must contain a unique value for each row of data. It cannot contain null values, and every row must have a primary key value. So the next question is digitalization. This digitalization refers to enabling or improving processes by leveraging digital technologies and digitized data. Therefore, digitalization presumes digitization. So examples of this digitalization could be as simple as PLC logic or PID, program integrated development, in a microprocessor based system, sequential logic for a batch process, or automated shutdown logic. So basically, this digitalization increases productivity and efficiency while reducing costs. Digitalization also improves an existing business process or process but does not change or transform them. That is to say, it takes a process from a human driven event or series of events to software driven. So interviewer asked this question like, why did you choose Python? You all know that Python has a very wide variety of advantages over other programming languages, including its syntax is both easy to learn and easy to understand, reading more like a human language. And it also has large standard libraries containing all areas like operating system, interfaces, web service tools, and string operations. And other question is program to find reverse of a string in Python. So Python has a numerous functions for string manipulations, but Python string doesn't. This library doesn't support inbuilt reverse function. So, but there are various ways to reverse the string. like using for loop, while loop, or a slice operator, or reversed function, or you can also find the reverse of a string using recursion. You can go through this any website and you can find their a code to reverse a string in Python. These are the questions asked in Cognizant interview. So I suggest you to prepare uh, as well as IT questions as well as your core subjects. Why? Because this Cognizant also concentrates on core subjects as well as IT subjects. So I suggest you to prepare both side and perform the interview very well. So good luck, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Stay tuned for more updates.